Hey everybody! Today, Rahdo runs through his top 10 most anticipated games for Gencon 2017. The 50th Gencon ever! Oh, how exciting! Well, not that exciting for me because I'm stuck here in Malta in 90-degree heat, 54% humidity. I can barely move. I am surrounded by fans. Hopefully you're not picking it up too much on the microphone here. And yet, in spite of my hardships, I am taking time out of my mostly otherwise empty day to tell you folks about 10 really, actually more than 10, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but a bunch of very, very cool games. Although, this is only scratching the surface. You've just caught me in the middle of recording my latest episode of my podcast, Rahdo Talks Through. And this is how I always record the podcast. I just lie down on the couch, mic myself up, and just start talking at the ceiling, pretending it's all of you thousands of folks out there who, for whatever reason, want to hear what I think about board games. Why? I don't know, but you do. You're here. So anyway, if you found this video interesting, where I only talked about my top 10, well, you know what? There are, 118 other games I talk about in the podcast. In the podcast, I think it's 128 or maybe it was 130 games total that I'm going to go over. I'm right in the middle of it right now because I've just in the podcast gotten to the top 10 space, and I figured let's go on ahead and record that for the folks so you guys can see it. And if you want to hear the rest, follow the links down in the show notes. Otherwise, I'm just going to get back to recording the podcast now after I have a drink of water because I've already been going at it for like 2 hours. I think I would have done that before I started recording, wouldn't you? That is not the Rahdo way. Okay, so where was I? Alrighty. Oh, and for you guys, let's switch over here. All right. Hey everybody, welcome back. Alrighty, so are you ready for the top, the creme de la creme, the must-haves, the games that I would knock anybody out of the way to ensure I did not leave Indiana without in my luggage? Well, then let's get to it. Starting with number 10, which is going to be kind of a little bit of a cheat, I think, because it's two. It's Notre Dame 10th Anniversary Edition and Year of the Dragon 10th Anniversary Edition. 2 for the price of 1. I have to admit, I feel kind of silly even putting this on the list when it boils right down to it because, these games were printed years and years and years ago, and I guess they've both been out of print for a while. I don't know. Have they been hard to find? I'm not sure. I've had my copies forever. The interesting thing about the new 10th Anniversary editions are, well, they don't change anything about the game. They don't do any kind of upgraded components or anything like that. What they do, though, is they take the expansion content that had previously only been available as part of the Alea treasure chest, so they were kind of hard to get. They were kind of scattershot all over the place. They take the expansion stuff and put them in the boxes. And for Notre Dame, that is hugely important because Notre Dame needed that extra citizens expansion to really give it longevity. Year of the Dragon, it could take or leave the expansion. They're nice, but they weren't absolutely must-have. But anyway, now all that stuff is available. And in fact, I think there in the Notre Dame 10th Anniversary Edition, there's also a little mini expansion for Castles of Burgundy. It was in one of them. It was either in the Notre Dame one or the Year of the Dragon. Long story short, folks, these are two of the best Stefan Feld games ever. Absolutely amazing, phenomenal games. I've done run-throughs for both of them. Notre Dame is a card drafting game from well before card drafting was cool, thanks to Seven Wonders, where players are helping the people of Paris build the Cathedral of Notre Dame, fight plague, and ride all around town in a cool little carriage getting bonus points. It's a blast, Jen. I absolutely love it. Notre Dame was actually our introduction to Feld, actually. And Year of the Dragon is arguably Feld's toughest, meanest, nastiest game ever. Not nasty in terms of player versus player. Players are, largely don't really interact with each other very much. Actually, that's not entirely true. There's a very, very cool action tile drafting mechanism that works beautifully in 2 players. And in fact, I'm always surprised that more developers, more designers don't copy In the Year of the Dragon because they have a brilliant scaling system. I've suggested to so many designers over the years because it works so well. But anyway, Year of the Dragon is mean because the game is unrelenting. It will beat you into a pulp. The Year of the Dragon is the worst year ever. 12 rounds or 12 months of cruel, back-breaking events that will just crush you. But you know what they all are, and you could prepare for them right from the very first turn for the game. So if you play smart, you'll come out, whistling Dixie, or you'll come out just completely crushed into a ball. These are both phenomenal games. I combine them into one because, again, it seems kind of weird to put these really older titles, but hey, they are on the Geek List preview on Board Game Geek, so this is their debut, and so I have to give them props. These are two of my favorite games of all time, especially Notre Dame. Year of the Dragon, I like. Jen loves it. It crushes me a little bit more than her, though, but Notre Dame, we both just absolutely adore. Two phenomenal games sharing the number 10 spot, Notre Dame and Year of the Dragon 10th Anniversary Edition. Now, let's move on to number 9, Spirit Island. I did a run-through for this. Actually, I was going to say when it was on Kickstarter, but I don't think so. I think it was a weird thing. The publisher actually sent me a prototype after the Kickstarter was over, and I just did the run-through just for the heck of it. And it's now like a year later, and finally the game is available, and oh my god, what a game. This is an absolutely amazing cooperative game where players take on the role of the spirit of an island that is in the process of being colonized. You can kind of almost think of it as the reverse of Settlers of Catan. We're not the settlers, we're Catan fighting back against the settlers. So we could be the spirit of water or earth or air or fire, and that means we have these incredible powers that we can bring to bear to just scare the bejesus out of all these little colonists, who are here ravaging our island and robbing it of all its resources. It's funny, the game calls it ravaging, but from the settlers' perspective, they're just trying to farm the land. They're not trying to ravage anything. But for us, yeah, you're ravaging us. We will destroy you. We will chase you off the island. And it's just an absolutely brilliant game. It's basically cooperative area control. I don't think there's another game on the market that does that. It's got really amazing, cool special powers, very neat leveling up system, really nice components. The version I had, the prototype didn't really look that nice, but the final version has really cool little pieces for the settlers and their buildings that they build and all that stuff. It's really, really cool. Tons of replayability, a lot of different scenarios. Absolutely amazing. My number 9, Spirit Island. Then we move on to another combination. I'm going to cheat again, folks. For number 8, I am mentioning the Exit the Game series, the Unlock series, and the Deckscape series. All three of these are wonderful escape room in your home style adventures that you can have. You get any one of these games. And in fact, when I say I'm actually talking about 3 systems, I'm actually talking at Gencon, there will be 8 different games you could buy. 3 games in the Exit series, 3 games in the Unlock series, and 2 games in the Deckscape series. And honestly, I'd suggest getting all of them. I've actually done run-throughs for each one of the series, and Jen and I, we have just loved them all to death. They all do escape rooms in different ways. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, to be fair. Unlock uses a digital app, so it can do a lot of really cool stuff like multimedia. Exit is the one that's a one-time use because it actually has you, tearing up cards and snipping them to make components that you can use to solve puzzles. And Deckscape is super portable. The whole thing just fits in a pocket and has a it's actually, of all of them, I think the Deckscape system is my favorite, even though it's the simplest. It doesn't have a lot of the neat gimmicks that the other ones have, but they're all great. You can watch my run-throughs to see why I like them and how I contrast and compare them. But honestly, any one of these individual games costs a fraction of a regular board game. Buy them all. Bring them all home. Play them with your family. Play them with your friends. The Unlock and Deckscape, after you finish them, you can give them away as gifts. The Exits, once you're done with them, they're done forever. But They're absolutely phenomenal. Jen and I have enjoyed them so much, so I've just, I'm going to consider these all one big game that just have 8 different modules that you have to buy from different booths when you're at Gen Con. So that's number 8, Escape Rooms in a Box, Exit, Unlock, and Deckscape. And now let's move on to number 7, Valletta. Oh, I was thinking, maybe I should actually put this higher on the list when it boils right down to it. I mean, I live in Malta. Finally, after years and years of playing Euro games, we've got a really cool Euro-style economic simulation set in my country, in the capital of Malta, Valletta, where players are doing deck building to build up the capital city. It's got a lot of really cool systems in it. I have to admit, I haven't looked into this that closely. It's from designer Stefan Dora, who's made some amazing games. He did For Sale, Milestones, Pergamon, some really amazing designs. I guess I've only got 2 worries here. 1, several of Stefan Dora's games are less than ideal at 2, but I've heard nothing but good things that this plays really well with 2. And then number 2, I'm a little worried that this game, some of the cards you have that you deck build have a little bit of take that, like stealing resources from each other, but I understand that in a 2-player game, you don't steal from the other player, you steal from the bank. So, awesome sauce. I'm so sad that here I am living in Malta, and I do not have a copy of this game, and I'm not at Gen Con to be able to pick one up. I probably won't get one until October when I get it at Essen Spiel, and I'll just have to wait and wait and wait. I've heard nothing. This is just really flying under the radar. It hasn't really gotten a lot of attention because so far it's only been available in Europe. Hopefully things will change at Gen Con, and it'll sell out because I mean, it looks really nice, and I suspect if you're a Euro fan like me and my wife Jen, you're going to absolutely love Valletta. Now, move on to number 6, Edge of Humanity. Now, this is a deck builder set in a post-apocalypse America. Which apocalypse, you ask? That's your choice. One of the coolest, there's 2 really cool things about this deck builder. One is, as part of setup, you have to make an event deck. And every round, you're going to draw, and that's going to make some event that affects everybody as everybody's trying to survive and build the best colony in this post-apocalyptic landscape. But the apocalypse, you get 3 to choose from. What you do as part of setup, when you're building the event deck, you take either, I think it's plague or zombies or alien invasion. Those are the 3 apocalypses. You pick one, and then you pick a location, which I believe is either big city New York, small town Arizona, or out in the wilderness Nebraska. So 3 radically different environments, 3 radically different apocalypses. You take one of each, shuffle it all up, and that's going to be your customized apocalypse you're going to play through in this particular game. So, right off the bat, that's really super cool. And in this game, we're each trying to survive, run the best colony we can, recruit new people who have skills, scavenge resources and all that, but it's a deck builder. And one of the things I've loved most in recent deck builders is this notion of not only do you build a deck, but you tear your deck down, deck destruction, where over the course of the game, I put a lot of cool stuff, but I have to keep ripping stuff out of my deck. In this game, when it gets to the point where you can add new cards to your deck, what you have to do is every card you've got, every resource, every person, every whatever you might have, counts as bartering material. And so when you go to buy stuff, you can sacrifice, you can trash cards from your hand that you would use to survive. You can trash them. That represents you trading them away to get new, better cards. So at once, you are thinning your deck out and building it up with better stuff. That is absolutely bonkers brilliant. I love that. It's so thematic. It's such a cool idea. And then on top of that, there's another thing where one of the big things you're doing is making buildings for your colony. And so if you have a building card and you put it into play, you have to, once again, permanently sacrifice resources by giving up other cards to build that up. And if you don't have enough resources to finish the building in one round, you can build these buildings over multiple rounds because it might take you a while to get this building built. But while you're building it, since you haven't used those resources yet, in the meantime, you can use those resources for other things. There's just a lot of really cool ideas in this game, and I'm super duper stoked for it. That was Edge of Humanity. Next up, we've got the quest for El Dorado. Now, I've already done a run-through for this. This is an absolutely brilliant racing deck builder from Dr. Reiner Knizia. Jen and I absolutely adore it. I thought it deserved to win the Kennerspiel des Jahres this year. It was nominated for the Kennerspiel. Unfortunately, it lost. Interestingly, it lost to the Exit, the game series. So that was the actual winner of the Kennerspiel, and the runner-up, which is also making its American debut at Essen, Quest for El Dorado, is a phenomenal game. Another deck builder, really, really clever. It's very lean, very to the metal. Every choice you make is really, really impactful, and Jen and I have enjoyed it very much. You can watch, Jen and I actually filmed an entire run-through from start to finish with the internet, playing a 3-player game. I will say, Quest for El Dorado, I think, is better at a higher player count because it works at 2, but it becomes very cutthroat as a 2-player game because each player has 2 explorers that they have to build their deck to try and race through the jungle to find El Dorado. And a big part of this game is blocking the path so that other players can't get through. When you play with 3 or 4 players, you only have 1 explorer. So if you're blocking the path, then you're not moving forward, and you're probably falling behind somebody else. But in a 2-player game, you can block a choke point, like through a mountain pass or something like that, that your opponent has to go through as well. You could park there with one of your explorers, and then have your other explorer just zip on to the end while you deck build and move them forward, and then that forces your opponents to have to go the long way around the mountain instead of taking the pass because you're blocking it. So it still works. I mean, Jen and I really love it as a 2-player game, but it's just a little bit more cutthroat. It also, the deck building itself has this very, very cool deck market system, which I have never seen in any other deck builder. Again, go watch the run-through to see how it works. This is a brilliant game. It totally deserved the nomination, and personally, I thought it deserved the win for Kennerspiel of the year. But great, great game, making its debut, Quest for El Dorado. Next up, we've got a secret. I am so sorry I cannot tell you folks what this is, but it hasn't been announced yet. It will be announced on Wednesday, the day before, because I think the Gencon starts on Thursday, so on Wednesday it'll be announced, and I suspect on Wednesday there are going to be a lot of videos. You'll see a video from me about this. I suspect the publisher has sent pre-release copies to a bunch of folks and given us all this press embargo date that on this day at this particular time, noon Eastern on Wednesday, we can all make our videos and we can talk about it publicly then. In the meantime, all I can say is I've played it. It's awesome. It's surprising in a number of ways. And I just absolutely, it's actually sitting right over there on my table right now. If I were just to, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. But just wait till this Wednesday and you'll say, oh, I see why you ranked this so high. Anyway, that's the secret one that I can't talk about. I think we're at number 4 now, right? I think that was the number 4. Let's move on then to number 3. Aeon's End War Eternal. Now, I did a quick talk through this when it was on Kickstarter a few months ago. This is a standalone / expansion to Aeon's End. And in fact, actually, Aeon's End, which is an amazing cooperative fantasy deck building, protect the village from never-ending hordes of evil, monstrous villains. It's an absolutely brilliant game. We love the base to tears. When I saw the redesign that the cards got for the expansion, they completely rejigged it so it no longer has an old school Magic the Gathering feel. Now the art really pops. It goes from border to border. It looks so much nicer. The game always played brilliantly, but now it looks brilliant too. And this War Eternal expansion added a bunch of really cool stuff. Now you don't need to get the original Aeon's End. Like I said, this is totally standalone. And if you're going to buy one, I would suggest buying War Eternal. But, ultimately, once you've played it, you're going to want to get all the Aeon's End stuff. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's not quite my number 1. I think it's my number 2 favorite all-time cooperative deck builder. Absolutely great, great stuff, Aeon's End. But let's move on. We're not done yet. Number 2, my second most anticipated game of the show, and I'm sure for a lot of people this will be number one. I'm sure for a lot of people they will, this is probably going to be one that sells out very quickly, or they'll have to parcel it out so it only sells out, piecemeal over several days. But heck, even if you don't get it, I'm sure it'll be available. Heck, maybe it already is available. I don't live in America. I don't know. But my number 2 is Codenames Duet, which I am so excited about. Codenames is already such a phenomenal cooperative experience. Now, I know most people don't view it that way because most people don't play Codenames as a 2-player game because Codenames is really a party game. The more players you have, the better. It's a team versus team thing where teams of spies face off against each other trying to... Do I even need to describe Codenames? Everybody knows Codenames. It's so great. But it's a... what would you call it? I have to come up with a secret code name that will tell everybody on my team what it is I want them to figure out, and hopefully they can intuit, because all I can do is just say one word and how many elements it touches on the board, and then they have to figure out what elements I'm referring to. It's an absolutely brilliant game. Codenames Pictures is brilliant too. I like Codenames better than Codenames Pictures, but regardless, they were both great cooperative. In fact, Jen and I played Codenames cooperatively with the internet when I did a run-through for it. You can go check that out. But I could not be more excited about Codenames Duet. I cannot wait to play it because this is designed from the ground up to be a cooperative game. And it looks like it takes Codenames that was already just an amazeball and takes it to an 11. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to play this with Jen. I'm sure this is going to, once we have it and we played it, this is going to push itself into all kinds of top 10 favorites of all time because we already loved Codenames so much. Where it was a party game that, oh, by the way, it works as a co-op now that it was made from the ground up to be co-op with a bunch of really cool systems, including campaign play. Who would have thought it? They actually put a campaign system in the game as well where you travel all around the world and play through multiple sessions. Absolutely phenomenal. My number 2, Codenames Duet. Super excited, super jealous that I will not be seeing this game probably for months. I probably won't get it till October. Why should I complain? Living in Malta is awesome, although maybe not on days like today because I don't know if you can tell. Oh, so hot. But anyway, let's talk about the number 1, shall we? My number 1 must-have, would not leave without it. Dragonfire, which is the Dungeons & Dragons themed sequel to Shadowrun Crossfire. Oh my goodness. If you've watched Rahdo Runs Through for any length of time, it would have been hard for you to miss my deep and abiding, unending love for Shadowrun Crossfire. It is my, I forget, see, it vacillates between my number 2 and my number 3 game of all time. It occupies that space alongside Gloomhaven and Agricola. Those 3 are always, I'm sorry, not Agricola, that's number 4. Pandemic and Shadowrun Crossfire and Gloomhaven are all fighting for numbers 1, 2, and 3. Shadowrun Crossfire is amazing. I have played it well over 50 times now, which may not sound like a lot to some people, but for me, that's a big deal because I rarely get to play games over and over again because I always have to move forward to play new games, but I will make the time for Shadowrun Crossfire. It's so amazing. And if you went back and ever watched my original run-through I did for Shadowrun, you may recall the only thing I complained about is, man, I'm just not that big a fan of the Shadowrun setting, which is a Blade Runner meets fantasy future world where orcs and goblins and elves hang out and fight major corporations and use science fiction technology. At the time, I just wish this was set in some kind of high fantasy universe, and now it is. At long last, the same great cooperative deck-building adventure gameplay has been transplanted literally into the Dungeons & Dragons universe. With several new features, that add and change up the gameplay, but the same great campaign, borderline legacy gameplay where you, as you play session after session after session, you level your character up and you unlock stickers to give you permanent abilities that will forever change you while you take on seemingly unbeatable, unstoppable enemies that will not let you go. Did I mention Shadowrun Crossfire? A lot of people complain that the game is too unrelentingly hard and unfair. Jen and I, we've never felt that way. We absolutely love the game to bits and cannot wait for the fantasy sequel, Dragonfire. and that's my number 1. Oh my goodness, that is a really, really cool top 10. I would not leave town without all of those in my back pocket. I am so jealous that, I do have a few of them, to be fair. I already have my Notre Dame and Year of the Dragon. I got those a long time ago, and I've already done all the escape room things, been there, done that, and, but, oh man, so many of these. Oh, and I've got my quest for El Dorado. But I want all of these, and of course, my secret game that I cannot talk about. Oh man, this is going to be a great, great show, folks. And that's it. Okay. So hold on for a bit, and we'll be right back with, what will we do next? Will we do demos? I think we'll do demo. No, we'll do expansions next, and then we'll end with demos. Okay, everybody, hold on. Phew. And that was it. That was just one little chapter in the latest podcast. Again, follow the links in the show notes. You'll hear this part, but in addition to those 10 or whatever that was more than 10 games. Again, I was a big fat cheater. But there's a lot more to talk about. So many more games at this year's Gen Con that are absolutely amazing. So exciting. And that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.